Big Podcast.
It's Big Podcast Playbook, the marketing podcast for podcasters. If you want to grow your podcast, if you want to make more money with that podcast, if you want to make a podcast that gets people talking, makes impact, a podcast that people will miss if you disappear, go away, take a few days off, this is the podcast for you. My name is David Hooper. BigPodcast.com is the website. You know, something that I don't do a lot is talk about the background that I've got, how I got to this place where I'm doing a podcast on podcasting. And really quickly, because it has to do with what this episode is about, I'm going to read a letter that I received via social media. The background is a lot. The background is I started radio while I was still in college. That was in the early 90s, 1991 to be exact. I got into what I call real radio in 2005, and that's after doing some things at, a couple stations during the 90s, small stations, not really anything significant, but it gave me access to a radio station. I learned a lot. 2005, I went on a weekly syndicated program that I started and that I own. And more recently, I'm working a daily show, producing it for SiriusXM. I've talked a little bit about that, how they reached out to me. I wasn't looking for a job. They reached out to me, and it was an opportunity that was too good to pass up. Some of that is going to come into play in this episode. My first job, it is still bigpodcast.com. I love working with experts, speakers, people with a message to spread, and working with them to spread that message via audio. So I got this letter. This is from somebody. I'm going to keep him anonymous. There's no point in mentioning who it is. I'm also going to keep some of the people that he mentions anonymous because he mentioned some people that you might consider to be competition for me. They also work in podcasting. I do not consider them competition. I just don't want to go there, though. I don't want to get into, oh, David said this, whatever. It doesn't matter. There's some people that are doing something similar to what I do, which is helping you grow an audience, get more people to your podcast, and make a podcast that matters. So this guy's a podcaster. He said, hey, I listened to your show today. I get the impression that you're falling into the same place where so many coaches are going. Start building, rebuilding the basics. That's where he thinks the direction is. Is that because the honest truth is that there's really very little you can do to grow an audio show unless you get lucky, you spend a ton on ads, or you happen to be famous? I want you to bookmark that. I'm going to go back to it. I asked because my daily show, and he mentions the name of the show. I'm not going to say what it is. It is a business show with a philosophical twist. That twist is it's a business show for people of a certain religion. He said, I figure I've spent well over $15,000 on ads in the past year. And just now I'm only seeing any average, I think he means a average, of 178 downloads a day. We could bookmark that as well. And I will. We'll go back to that. What's funny is I launched a new business show and I'm just 7 episodes in and already getting 120 downloads on each episode and only spent about $3,000 on ads. I respect your ideas just like so I was hoping to hear your honest thoughts. I had a conference call with that's somebody else, a second consultant. And he's all into YouTube, which is funny to me because he wants me to spend $7,500 on his cohort plan, and he doesn't even show that great of results with his own show. It makes me really question the entire content area and makes me very skeptical of coaches in general. I'll keep listening to you because I appreciate your tone and I can hear your professionalism. I guess I'm just getting worn out with the game. Be well. I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, one of the things I'm not doing is selling myself probably enough. The background that I have. I've done work for NPR. I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, I'm producing a daily show for SiriusXM. Coast to coast, nationwide. I wake up every morning at 4:15 a.m., even on the weekends. I am dedicated to this. I live, breathe, eat, sleep, obsess over, and sacrifice for podcasting, radio, and in general, what I would call audio first content. I've got several audio books that I've produced. And when I say several, in the 200 range. I am audio first content. I'm not shy about this, but I'm also not buy this, and hyping things up about YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, any social media. My job is building an audience the old-fashioned way, which is giving the audience something that they care about. Something that if it disappears, those people are going to miss it. Not if it disappears, okay, who cares? Like they don't even notice it. They don't know if it's there or if it's not. Now, what this guy's talking about in his letter, let's go back to this first paragraph. It says, listen to your show today and I get the impression that you're falling into the same place where so many coaches are going. Start building, rebuilding the basics. Is that because the honest truth is that there is really very little you can do to grow an audience unless you get lucky, spend a ton on ads, or happen to be famous? Some people do get lucky. What I have found is that luck is maybe a viral video, if you want to call that. Will it get you listeners? Yes, it will. Will the listeners stay? No. And the reason they don't is that they're not coming to you because of your content. Well, the content may be in a viral video, but nothing beyond that. Not any content with substance or the relationship that they've got with you. An example of this, and this happened right here where I am in Nashville, not one block from where I am every single morning doing that coast-to-coast radio show. The Hawk Tuah girl, Broadway, Nashville. A guy happened to catch her in a moment where she's saying, Hawk Tuah, you know that. She was everywhere. She got a nice podcasting contract. She made more on that contract than I've ever made on a contract. Over the years, who made more? Me. That one contract, though, it was pretty nice for somebody with no podcasting experience who came out of nowhere. I know her manager, by the way. Music business guy, talked about music business radio. We did an episode with him. A nice guy. He has an office in Los Angeles. He's got an office here in town. A very, very sharp guy. There's only so much you could do with viral video, though. So yeah, you can get lucky. And yes, you can get downloads off of that. But that's only going to take you so far. The second thing he mentioned, spend a ton on ads. Is that a way to do it? Well, you tell me, man. Because this second paragraph that you've got, you said you spent well over $15,000 on ads in the past year, and you're just now only seeing about 178 downloads per day. Is that good? It's nothing to sneeze at. A couple hundred people assuming they're actually listening to you. Not bad. But do you have a back end for that? Is there a return on investment to that $15,000? Maybe it's a hobby for you. Maybe it's fun. 15 grand, great. 15 grand, not a lot of money to some people. Maybe it's not a lot of money to you. I would like to see something more significant than 178 downloads per day. With that said, if you reach the right people, that could be a lot. I've talked about this in my book. Think about the guys on Shark Tank. What is it, 5 people that you're trying to win over to get them to invest in your business? Think about if you were talking to Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, Steve Jobs, Ronald McDonald. Important people, if you could get them to invest in you or shout out your podcast, give you some promotion, that might be worth it. That's just a few listeners. So it's not the number of listeners, it's who is listening. So 178 downloads, I don't want to discount that, but $15,000, that sounds like a lot. So spending a ton on ads, that's telling me one of two things. One, your ads aren't converting, or two, you've got something that people just aren't interested in, at least not the mass number of people that I would think would be seeing that ad for $15,000. And then the just happen to be famous, nobody just happens to be famous. Maybe if you're born into a situation where you've got a famous father or famous mother, but even then, look, I've worked in the entertainment industry for decades, man, and there are a lot of famous people that have children. I'll give you an example of one that I interviewed, Lisa Marie Presley, the king of rock and roll's daughter. They called her the princess of rock and roll. Can you name a song that she's done? Can you name anything that she's done? I would argue that Lisa Marie was infamous, not famous. People knew of her, but they don't really know what she has done. And that is the difference between what I do when I work with clients and what a lot of folks do. They're just trying to get you likes and attention. They're just trying to get you downloads. What I do when I work with somebody is we're going to work on that content. We're going to give people something that matters. Something that even if you've only got 178 listeners per day, or just those 5 maybe, something that makes impact in the world. It's not about the number of listeners you have. It's about the impact that you can have. And if you're somebody who solely wants likes, attention, fame, I am not the person that you need to come to. Go to this YouTube guy you mentioned in the fourth paragraph. We'll get to that in a second. There are plenty of people that'll sell you that dream. But like this guy said, speaking of that fourth paragraph, even his show isn't doing that well. If I'm not mistaken, this guy's gone back to audio first content. And if not audio first content, let's call it podcasting, what I call an audio first podcast. Not just YouTube, but a podcast. Second paragraph, this guy's talking about his show. I'm not going to mention the show. Like I said, it's a business show. It is for people of a specific religious belief. And I got no issues with that. I'm in the buckle of the Bible Belt, the very first piece of audio that I recorded for the Methodist Church. I did a record when I was 5 years old. It wasn't a David Hooper album. It was something like Kids Bop. I was in a kid chorus or singing on it. I don't even remember, honestly. I remember going to the studio. I remember it took forever, probably because I was 5 years old. And I thought, this is boring. Couldn't wait to get out of there. And I also remember I never got paid for it. So Methodist, send me my check. Look, I'm not worried about that. It's a good story. And it was one of those things that just being in the studio and truthfully, growing up in Nashville, you could spit, you're going to hit a studio. I mean, there's studios all around. It's what we did here, especially back then. We're definitely doing it now with home studios. My point being that there's a lot of content for that market. The Methodist Church does it. Jehovah's Witnesses do it. There's a huge church. I don't remember what the name of the church is officially, but they've got a magazine called Plain Truth. They're doing it. Mormons are doing it. Every church has its media outlet. Being in the buckle of the Bible Belt, I got involved with some of that as a kid and as a teenager. Strangely enough, I've got people approaching me all the time. A huge radio network, 1,500 stations wanted me to come on and be the vice president of podcasting. This is probably about a year ago. They built a big complex in Nashville. I don't know how they found me. A headhunter reached out to me. And I'll talk to anybody. Talked to the first guy. He brought me in for the second guy, which is a vice president or president of something, talking to both of them on the line. And I was honest with these guys. I said, I don't think I'm a philosophical match for what you guys want. You're asking me how I found Jesus and all about that. You're not asking me about podcasting. And that leads me to the guy who wrote me this letter, his situation. He spent $15,000 on ads in the past year. He's seen 178 downloads per day. Not bad, depending on who the people are. But if you've got a religious-oriented podcast, that cuts both ways. Either people are going to love it, and those are the people who are that religion, or people are not going to like it because their one true religion is something completely different. This second business show this guy has launched, he doesn't mention what it is. He's 7 episodes in, already getting 120 downloads on each episode. He's only spent $3,000 on ads. That's a significant amount of ads to me. Again, what are you doing? Where are you targeting this stuff? Is it converting well? Anybody can spend a lot of money and get some traffic. My job, or one of them, when you work with me, not only do you have something that people are going to care about when they get there, I don't believe in just throwing money at something. I want you to have that foundation of a great podcast, but also ads that convert, that attract the right people for you. Also targeting those ads so they go to the right people. So it sounds like to me that maybe with that much money being spent, either the show's not that great, the wrong people are being targeted. Sometimes people like things, sometimes people don't. I don't want to get too far off topic, making this stuff sound easy and simplifying it to 1 or 2 sentences or bullet points. Do this and this and then this. It's not like that. But the bottom line is you got to have a good show. It's got to target the right audience. If you're doing ads, those ads need to target the right audience. Not only the people that are seeing those ads, but with the way the ads are written to get them excited about clicking on that ad, then coming to your podcast. Do you know that these people that you're targeting, do they even like podcasts? It's very difficult to switch somebody from one format to another. For example, TikTok people, they are there because they like TikTok. They want those 15-second, 30-second videos, quick hit of dopamine, go on to the next thing. They love the doom scroll. They're not going to necessarily be the match for somebody who's got a 15, 20-minute, 30-minute podcast. Bottom line, you can't just throw money at something. Same for your equipment. Let's take it out of podcasting for a minute. I'm in Music City. Let's use that example. So I got you a Marshall Stack, a Fender Stratocaster, a Les Paul, thousands of dollars of equipment. If you don't know how to play guitar, it doesn't matter. what you're playing into. Garbage in, garbage out. Same thing with your podcast. Don't spend a ton of money on your podcast equipment when you're just starting. Work on those basics, man. Give people something they're going to care about. Work on your hosting. Be able to deliver that. Live your life. Step out of the studio and live, man. Tell a story that people care about. Learn how to connect with people in a way that brings those people in. That's not about podcasting. That's about living. Let's get to this fourth paragraph. I respect your ideas just like... So I was hoping to hear your honest thoughts. Well, that's what you're getting. So on a conference call with... This is the YouTube guy. He's all into YouTube, which is funny to me because he wants me to spend $7,500 on his cohort plan, and he doesn't even show that great of results on his own show. In fairness to this YouTube guy, we could use what he's doing, but we could use this podcast as an example. This podcast is for a very specific audience. It's apples and oranges compared to most other podcasts. I am not trying to get a huge audience. I'm not trying to have a widespread audience, something for everybody. Wherever you are, we got what you need. This is not for that. I'm for a very specific type of person who is doing a very specific thing. So with that said, if this guy's got a smaller YouTube channel, if it's something very specific and you're doing something for the more mainstream audiences, I'll give the guy a break on that. By the way, this works both ways. I could talk about this serious show that I'm doing, 1.3 million people a week. That's a big audience. Why is that? Is it anything that I'm doing? Well, maybe. I mean, since I've been there, interaction with the people has gone up, call volume has gone up. I would argue that the content is better. It's something that Sirius decided to produce in-house. That's why they brought me in. This guy was on another network previously. People seem to care more. We've developed the audience. Things are moving in the right direction. However, is it 1.3 million a week worthy? Some of it's just that we got a big antenna. 22,000 miles in the sky, satellite high. That is what we're working with. And sometimes it's just a big antenna that gets you that audience. And that's what he said at the beginning. Get lucky, spend a ton on ads, or happen to be famous. A big antenna is one of those things. If you look at Fox News, and this could be any network, so don't send me nasty emails, tell me how woke I am, but I want to use Fox News for a very specific reason. Think about Bill O'Reilly. What happened? Sexual harassment or whatever he was doing. Boom, booted him from Fox News. They put somebody else in. Tucker Carlson, he's on there. He does some kind of crazy stuff. Boom, they boot him from Fox News, put somebody else in. Now you got the new guy, whatever his name is. Doesn't matter because he's going to be there and you're going to watch it because it's in your living room. If you like Fox News, if you want to be talked to in a certain way, if you want a certain type of philosophy, some people are there just because they can do that, and they are successful because the audience has already been established. We have a different thing in podcasting. Ironically, though, this is one of the reasons why YouTube is so sexy to people, and this guy that this person mentioned in the letter, he switched from audio podcasting to YouTube because it's sexy, and he can get $7,500, at least charge it. I don't know that he's getting it for his cohort plan. He switched back, so it must not be working that well, or there's more competition. Who knows? But there's so much smoke and mirrors, man. Like I said, a lot of these guys focusing on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever it's called. And they're going to make you feel something because you can do basically anything on YouTube and get 1,000 views. Oh, we got 1,000 views. You got to work a little bit harder to do that in podcasting. But if you do it in podcasting, it's going to mean a little bit more. That's why I'm not freaking out over this 178 downloads a day. Maybe that's enough. It sounds like this guy isn't satisfied with those numbers. There are other podcast consultants. If you relate to them personally, go work with them. If you like me, work with me. I don't know what to say. It's not a competition, and I want to make that very clear. That's why I'm not going to sit here and badmouth these guys. I think they all have something to say. Like the YouTube guy. I don't do YouTube. I don't know. I don't know about cameras. I mean, I know more than the average person. I will say that. But comparatively, people ask me, you feel comfortable editing audio? I mean, yeah, maybe. I edited this, engineered this, but I'm comparing myself to people in Nashville that are Grammy award-winning music producers. Compared to those guys, no, I don't. part of that is just the environment that I've been around since I was 5 years old, growing up around engineers, being in the entertainment industry for 30-something years, being self-employed for 26 years. I know what it's like to grind something out. I know what it's like to not have that big antenna, and I know what it's like to have that big antenna. Is it worth $7,500 for a cohort? Maybe. Small hinges, big doors. If this guy could tell somebody with an existing audience one thing, and it gives them that little bitty edge, that 1%, maybe it's worth it to them. Is it worth it to anybody? I don't know. I will say this, that's about half of what this dude spent on ads, spent $15,000 on ads in the past year, getting 178 downloads a day. I would hope that for $7,500, even go get my book for $20, that we could do a little bit better on that. You definitely get a return on investment on the book. $20 for a book, come on. But you got to do the work. And that's what a lot of people don't do. This guy's asking about me changing up some things with my company, and I'm going to get into that, why I'm doing that. He talked about building and rebuilding on the basics. I do have a book coming out called Podcast Launch Plan. It's about launching a podcast. You could argue the first book that I did, though, just called Big Podcast, that is about launching. The basics are all we got, man. There's no kind of super high up knob that just does just a little bit and then you're good. And it's more advanced than everybody else. There's no secret to putting together a great radio show. There's no secret to putting together a great podcast or growing an audience, however you're growing your audience. It comes down to connection. It comes down to you being you. It comes down to being open to making changes. And a lot of the guys that I work with, they are not. They come to me and they're willing to spend the money. And they want me to say, oh, no, man, what you're doing, that podcast, it's great. No, I wouldn't change a thing, because they want validation and maybe a little bit of hope that things are going to be okay because they're not bringing in big audiences like they want to. They're not willing to change. That, I think, is the toughest thing about podcasting and success in podcasting is you have to be willing to change. Are you doing air checks? I'll give you an example from SiriusXM. Every week, these guys on music stations, and it's all the music stations, get together on a call. They will pick one person and they will listen to air checks, which are recordings of a show. And you got the country guy, let's say, he'll be playing whatever he's doing, coming out of a song, going into a break. And then the pop guy will say, oh, here's what we're doing. Have you thought about doing it like this? And the progressive rock guy will say, oh, that's funny. We kind of do that, but we do a different variation of that. That's how these guys get good. Are you doing something like that? Do you have other podcasters that you're connecting with? Are you even open to the feedback? Most podcasters are not. Are you asking your audience questions? Most podcasters are not. It's not rocket science. It's just being open. It's just doing the work. You can't buy your way into this. You could get your Super Bowl ad for $5 billion. And then what? Get a little traffic, get news around the Super Bowl ad. Oh, this podcaster, he spent $5 bajillion on an ad. This is the podcast. Are people going to stick with it though? No. I want to finish up talking about some more of these changes that I've had going on just to kind of clarify what's happening here. The background is this. 26 years of doing this, I'm tired. 2005, that's when the podcast started. I took a break. And that's for me, ironically, to do a book on podcasting. The name change for the podcast, I explained this in the last episode. I'm working on this book. I'm using the name Build a Big Podcast, writing that out. A lot of people are going to see this new book. They've never heard of me. They haven't been exposed to me. It's a great time to change the name. So I did. Big Podcast Playbook. It's as simple as that. There's some other things that came into play. I had a long-term sponsor. That's a little bit more complicated. I will likely announce what happened with that-ish. My choice on that. But even that isn't as simple as that. I decided to walk away from it so I could do what I wanted to do. You know what? Let me be a little bit more specific about that. There was a change at that company. The new person making me go around through some hoops. Didn't want to do it. They weren't going to honor what the old person and I had worked out. I walked away from that. Then they came back to me, and at that point I was done. So that's kind of the quick and dirty on that. I also got to think about my sustainability every day. As I mentioned, even on the weekends, I'm waking up at the 4 o'clock hour, 4:15 or so. I'm getting older. I'm working on a book. I want to spend time with my wife. I want to do other things than sit in a booth and record. And then, because I'm not perfect, go and edit and knock out words. I don't want to do it, at least not all the time. But fortunately, because I understand how this thing works, I've been in the game for a long time. I know what works and I know what doesn't. I know what I like to do and I know what I don't like to do. And that's the kind of stuff that I can work with you on. I'm not going to give you a hard pitch. If you want to see how I work with people, bigpodcast.com. That is where to go. You can also subscribe to this podcast. You will never miss an episode when you subscribe. This is free. You can stay around as long as you want. Listen to the ones you want, skip the ones you don't want. But you'll find that at bigpodcast.com. I make it very easy for you to subscribe. 1 click for iPhone, 1 click for Android. If you want an RSS feed. And the reason I do this, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier, knowing your audience, podcasters want RSS feeds because you know what it is. Average podcast listener, who cares? Just tell them to click on iPhone or click on Android. They're good. Podcasters, you need a little something different. That goes back to content. You got to know your audience. I'm happy to talk with you about knowing your audience and great content. So if you come in with a big budget, $3,000, $15,000, however much you've got, then you can see a return on investment with that money. That's the thing that you learn about being independent. I've done an audio first spoken word content. Like I said, 200 something audiobooks. I've done it in broadcast radio, satellite radio, podcasting. Independent and the biggest of the big, SiriusXM, the world's largest audio first company. I've seen it all, man. And I'd love to work with you. You can find me at bigpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. The fact that I am focused on sustainability, that means you'll be hearing more from me and for a very, very long time. No, I'm not going anywhere. And yes, we are talking about the basics, not just any basics though, how you can put together some very basic things that'll give you those small hinges that swing big doors. Again, bigpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next episode of Big Podcast Playbook.